This is the Bethune-Cookman University Wildcat News Feed on Sirius XM, radio channel 142. HBCU, broadcasting from the Wildcat Lab in Daytona Beach, Florida. WELE 1380, The Cat. It's time to hear the good news from BCU.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BCU Wildcat Newsfeed, also known as hashtag BCU Talk Tuesday, the place where you get the real, raw, and relevant facts about what's going down on the campus of Bethune-Cookman University and HBCUs all around the world. I am your host, Franshawn Reed Barnes, and you are listening to WELE 1380 The Cat. Today we will be talking about writing, getting involved in film, and or how to start your career in any of the above pre or post graduation. Here to help us learn more is a Wildcat alum, celebrity memoirist of Unstoppable, and co-founder of Diverse Writers Room, a multicultural television and film development company, Miss Jobi Tyson. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. I know that our students and our audience are certainly in for a treat today, so I want to go ahead and get into our interview. So you have done so many things in your industry and have a professional experience and resume many people in their 60s and 70s cannot even boast of. Can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? Like, where did it all begin?
Well, it all began in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is not far from Daytona Beach. And I grew up in an area where it was very easy to get distracted and to fall into trouble. But I had a grandmother and a mother that made sure that I was involved in extracurricular activities so I could stay busy. So it made me real rounded because I was in the chorus, I was in the band, I was in the newspaper staff. I was anything you can think of, a hair braiding contest. They just made sure I did everything to be busy so I could not be distracted. So I was able to learn different things, and then that's where I learned writing and learned my creative space and singing and all of those things. So that's where it started, and then, of course, I went to Bethune-Cookman, third generation to go there, and I have an aunt who actually was there when Mary McLeod Bethune was there, and listening to her stories. My mother attended Bethune-Cookman, and also I followed her footsteps there, and just listening and learning so much about our African-American history there. And from that, I moved to Atlanta and started my career in marketing and continued the creative space. And from that, I just worked in different industries and kind of like followed just to see which one fit, which one was my niche, and I kind of like fell into where I am now.
Okay, so it was a little bit of experimenting in every area until you found something that clicked.
Yeah, I pretty much worked in every industry. I've worked in the debt collection industry, the finance industry, the sports industry, advertising, but I stayed with marketing in all of those fields. I've worked in the entertainment industry, so I just waited until I kind of like found something that clicked with me, and I kind of like stuck there.
That's great, and I'm glad that you said that, because I think that when students graduate from college or even with their master's degree, they think immediately after graduation that they are going to step into their dream job or step into their purpose. And so it's so helpful to hear that you really had a trial and error process, and it took you some time after graduating to really find your niche and to arrive here today.
Yeah, and it's okay not to know. It's okay to get into your senior year and realize that you have no clue what you're going to do. I'm in my 40s, and I still sometimes don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So you're ever learning. So it takes time to fit. And I like when I do hear college students know exactly what they're going to do, but that didn't happen for me. So it just was trial and error.
Now, Jobi, how long after graduation did it take you to recognize, okay, I finally found my calling. I finally found the beginning stages of what I'm supposed to be doing. Was it 5 years? Was it 10 years? Was it 15 years?
Well, I think every journey I thought I was getting closer and closer because I really didn't know, but I did know I loved the music industry, so I started there. So I started with promotions and marketing there and helping groups get established and get with A&R and helping them with record deals. So I started there, and then from there I kind of moved in different industries, and it probably wasn't until I was in my early 30s that I kind of got something that I really, had some meat on it, and I was an advertising agency, and I was able to create campaigns for companies, and from the vision all the way to execution. So that kind of was my thing there, just creating from the beginning to the end.
Now, every time I have seen you mentioned on social media lately, I always hear people say celebrity memoirist. What advice would you give to anyone listening who is interested in writing books or becoming a celebrity memoirist?
Well, first I would just tell them to start writing. I mean, no one has to give you permission to be a writer. You just start writing and you're a writer. And start researching and studying whatever your favorite books and authors are. Just start studying them. And I'm a researcher anyway. That's what I've always been, a researcher. So I've always researched, and something that I love, I figured that that's something I would enjoy doing. And I would say that your network equals net worth. So you have to introduce yourself to these groups you want to be a part of. So if I wanted to be a writer for athletes, then I had to go where athletes were and introduce myself to those circles and the sports industry. And it's a male-dominated field, but I kind of got the respect that I wanted to, be credible in that industry.
You made a very interesting comment. You said that your net worth is equal to your network. Can you tell those listening, let's say that they want to get involved in the sports field, or perhaps they want to get involved in television or some other field, how do you identify those networking opportunities or events?
Well, the good part about it is now you have Google and you have, social media where you can just Google in where you are and what you're trying to be a part of, and those groups will come up. Whether it's something as grand as a gala or something just like a reception or something that one of the football or baseball or basketball teams in your area is having, or the retired sports associations are having, where you can go to where they're having events. So that's probably the best way to get in front of them.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, also, after you were a celebrity memoirist, can you give us some information on what students or those listening could do that were interested in getting involved in the film industry? And then we'll go into your book and how that turned into a film.
Okay, well, again, I would repeat the study and research on whatever your favorite movies and television shows are, because whatever your favorite movies and television shows are is probably what you're going to write best, because that's what you enjoy watching. I also enjoy documentaries and true stories, so that's just kind of like my niche there, and comedy. So, and then also, which now that we have Google, scripts, all of your favorite shows and feature films, the scripts are probably online. So you can just Google those scripts and start studying scripts and how they look, how your favorite shows and films look. And I went an unconventional route. For an entire year, I didn't work, and I only was a movie extra. And so I silently studied the craft and I was on over 50 sets in that year, and I was able to study A-list actors and directors and just learn the business that way and learn set life, and to see if it was really something that I wanted to be a part of, because it's not glamorous. It's over 16 to 20-something hours sometimes per day. You have to wake up the next day and do it all over again for weeks and weeks. So that was kind of the route I did, and then which created opportunities for lead roles in commercials. So it's never too late to reinvent yourself, and so that's why you just have to do what you love and love what you do, and it's always within reach.
I like that. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. Now, Unstoppable is a heartfelt memoir about WNBA player Simone Edwards, and it reveals the harsh realities of growing up poor in a gang-infested village and how Edwards found the inner strength to maintain hope in the face of opposition. How did you get chosen as the memoirist of the book in telling her story?
Well, it's kind of like divine intervention because I was dealing with male athletes before I met her, and when I met her, she was telling me about her story, and I'm always intrigued in people's life stories, and she was telling me her story, and I picked her up as a client and to help rebrand her post-career. And when she was mentioning that she wanted to write a book, listening to her talk about her life, you think you need to write a book. You know, some people, when they talk about their life, you say you should write a book. So everyone tells her that anyway, and she always wanted to write a book. I never written a book. You know, I did, short stories and magazine articles, but a book is over 200 pages.
Right.
So that was a different feat. And so I just offered to help her write the book. And fortunately, she trusted me enough because it's a really cathartic experience to pull somebody back into 4 years old all the way up to, your 20s and all of those experiences that she experienced. So I was grateful that she trusted me to be a part of that journey.
That's great. That's great. Now, how did you get the news about the book being turned into a film? Can you walk us through that day or that email or that phone call or that moment?
Well, see, it's still in the development stage, which is pre-production, meaning we're still seeking funding for it. Mm-hmm. But I always say create what you want to be a part of, and so I don't wait around for opportunities. I try to find them. So I created a treatment, a film treatment, which is saying exactly what the film is about, what is the genre, if it's a feature film, and who are the characters, and what are the acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So I put that together, and from that, Simone Edwards and I, we went out and pitched the film. And I didn't wait for someone to call about it. We just started pitching the film, and there was interest peaked from that. So now it's in development stage.
Wow. Now, I was reading up on some of the information that is on the web about you, and you spoke about this a little bit earlier regarding the steps you took when you learned when you were interested in Unstoppable being turned into a film. Can you tell us a little bit about your time on set and playing a movie extra and what you learned from that?
Okay, my time on set as a movie extra?
Yes.
Okay. Well, my first experience on a movie set, believe it or not, was with Queen Latifah. So I was literally on set with Queen Latifah every day for 6 weeks, Monday through Friday. So that was an invaluable experience that, film school can't teach you, And Deborahs, who did Pariah, she was the director for the film. And so I just really soaked in everything I could. Monique, the comedian, she was a part of the film. She just brought a whole different flavor and to the set as well. So I just learned a lot. It was really hard, and I'm grateful that was my first experience because those days were probably 16 minimum hours per day. They were really hard. Not leaving until maybe 5 or 6 in the morning and starting all over again the next day, every weekday for 6 weeks. So I learned from that experience how, when you're on a really tight schedule, how, the process worked and how many people were involved on sets. And then all the way till I've worked big budget sets like Marvel Comics, where it's a whole different atmosphere, and you have Michael Douglas on set. So, and then in between, Tyler Perry is probably my favorite set. I've been on his set many times. He is a very professional set. They treat extras exactly the same as they treat the actors, and that doesn't happen on every set. So I appreciate that from the Tyler Perry Studios. So it was a different experience for each set I was on. And then from that experience, like I mentioned, I was able to get lead roles for commercials. So I was in a Clorox commercial, a Lipton Iced Tea commercial, local commercials around Atlanta. And then from that experience, I knew that I had to create what I wanted to be a part of. So that's when I created the Things Black Grandma Say web series. Mm-hmm. And so I already in 3 seasons for that, and it's well received. It's thousands of views and followers. And with that, I wanted to just break the stigma of aging. So it's through laughter. So everything that, people go through with aging, because I'm an elder advocate, I wanted to highlight in those skits, those comedy skits that I do, just to highlight so people can just start to break the stigma, because we have to start honoring our elders.
Wonderful. Now, what was the most memorable part of helping the first Caribbean WNBA player, Simone Edwards, tell her story?
Probably actually going to Kingston, Jamaica, before we even got deep into the book, so I could walk through all of the stories she had been sharing with me. So the gang-infested village, I wanted to actually go to that village, to walking the streets and seeing, so I can visualize it, so I could be able to write better. And interviewing the characters that are portrayed in the book, mentioned in the book, I wanted to get their stories and their because it's funny, because you can interview 3 people about the same story, and the story will be different.
Yes.
So you have to really be careful of which version that you include in the book. So, those are probably the most memorable, because I interviewed probably over 50 people, and just going to Kingston and actually seeing what I was writing about. And I don't think I could have written the book as good as it turned out without actually going to Kingston to see it for myself.
Now, as a memoirist, what's the most memorable part of her story that registered with you?
Probably the most that registered with me was all of the what I call unimaginable obstacles that she faced, where an average person would have given up way before. And it's like, growing up, the gunshots every day, and knowing that somebody that you knew had probably died when you woke up that morning, and being bullied throughout her life because she was exceptionally tall. She's 6'4", but she was 6 foot. But by the time she was 10 or 12 years old, so she was bullied for that, and then going to college and continuing to be bullied because now she was in America and bullied for being different because she was not. She had a strong Jamaican accent, and in Oklahoma, of all places, she ended up from Jamaica to Oklahoma. So that culture shock there, trying to get accustomed to, American cuisine and the culture and all of that stuff. And then just all of the obstacles that she faced in college, it was just one after another. And then she even got injured twice in college and still did not give up because she felt like that was her way out of poverty, and she wasn't going to return and without becoming somebody. And then when she went, then ultimately becoming the first Jamaican and Caribbean WNBA player. And so I always say that she left home with a dream and returned a champion. And so that's all the epitome of her just not allowing your current circumstances to dictate your future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, the slogan of Bethune-Cookman University is enter to learn and depart to serve. Mm-hmm. And as I look through your bio, one of the things that stands out that says that you took that charge to heart is the fact that you were co-founder of Diverse Writers Group. Can you tell us, Diverse Writers Room. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it does and why you chose to create it?
Okay, well, first I want to say that, enter to learn, depart to serve, I really took to heart when I was attending Bethune-Cookman. That motto is very wise and has great meaning to me. With the word serve, that means to be in service and to pay homage, to provide and help. And I've really took that to heart for the betterment of others. Diverse Writers Room, the goal is to continue to unify and validate diverse writers by challenging the perception through TV and film, which involves women, people of color, elderly, and LGBTQ characters. So in every aspect of that is to show differences in people on TV and film, and that's why we started it, because we really wanted to see people that looked like us and that were different and that we could humanize, and they weren't just caricatures, So that's really the basis of Diverse Writers Room.
Wonderful. Now, as our time comes to a close, I have 3 final questions that I want to run through with you for our audience. The first question is there ever an opportunity that you chose to say no to?
Oh, absolutely. I just don't feel that you should sell your soul to get somewhere closer, because obviously you could make it sooner if you do. But if you know that I can make it with or without something. If I have to sell my soul for it, then I'll get there. I just won't get there as quick as someone else. So just always follow your gut and your instincts, because sometimes it's God's rejections. Man's rejection is God's protection sometimes. So It's okay to say no, and you should feel good about it if it's that gut telling you not to.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think as college students that a lot of times our audience gets presented with opportunities that aren't necessarily in their favor and that have their best interest at heart. Now tell us, what is next for Jobi Tyson?
Well, hopefully more books, a book series, and getting TV and films off the ground. And we have a sports documentary in development, so looking forward to that. And we also, if anyone wants to help support these films and TV shows that we're working on, they can through diversewritersroom.com. So that's pretty much next for us.
Great. Now, I heard that you had a bucket list. Can you tell us the top 5 things on your bucket list?
Well, I always say when I was at Bethune-Cookman every Wednesday, I don't know if they still do it, but every Wednesday they would have something that was going on in the gym where they would have a speaker to come. And I always said that I wanted to return. That was my depart to serve part. I wanted to be invited to speak at Bethune-Cookman. And then I also have a bucket list to visit 50 states by 50. And I'm halfway there.
Great.
And I've been putting together a speaking tour for athletes that have experienced living against all odds life stories as Simone has. And so that should be coming soon in 2018. And would love to be have Unstoppable on the New York Times bestsellers list, of course, and win an Emmy for Diverse Writers Room. But most importantly, to make my grandma and my mom and family proud.
I love it. Now, we will definitely see what we can do about getting you to return back to Bethune-Cookman to check that one off of your bucket list.
Okay.
For those who are listening, can you tell us where they can find you on social media?
Okay, well, on social media, you can follow my web series at Black Grandmas on Facebook and IG. And my personal IG is Creative Spirit 23. And then, of course, you can always keep up with me from diversewritersroom.com. And for those who want to order the book, you can go to JamaicanHurricane.com.
Wonderful. Now, to close us out in 1 minute, can you speak to your younger self at Bethune-Cookman University or any HBCU student around the world and leave them with the one thing you wish someone would have told you?
Well, as far as a college student, it would probably be good to be told not to have a limit drinking. So those who are drinkers at the school, just limit yourselves with drinking because it's not worth it. It's okay to have one or two drinks and keep it moving. You don't have to drink everything that's available. So, and that will help your health when you're older. And also, I would just say to follow your dreams. It's never too late to dream. And if something doesn't work, you just continue. And for even the film, and I looked back, and I've been pitching TV and film for close to 10 years, and I haven't given up yet. So just keep on. If it's something that is your dream, just continue to follow it, and it will come into fruition eventually.
That is great. Well, you heard it here first from Jobi Tyson. Do not give up. If financial aid does not work out, do not give up. If you do not get the perfect grade, do not give up. If you get denied from a job, do not give up. If you don't get your dream job after graduation, do not give up. Thank you so much for coming
Fran, for having me
to speak with us on BCU Talk Tuesday, also known as the BCU Wildcat Newsfeed. You have heard it here first, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday right here in the BCU Wildcat Newsfeed. I am your host, Fran Reed Barnes, and I will see you next week.